Now we're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes that you want to avoid when writing book descriptions. So number one to avoid is being vague. Don't be so mysterious that the readers have no idea what in the world you're even talking about. Give them enough that they know, is this the right genre for them? Is this the category that they like to read? Is it romance? Is it, give them enough so that they can decide. Number two, don't overpromise. Avoid making promises about your book that the content can't deliver. Don't write checks that your story can't cash. Make sure that whatever you tell them is something that they'll find inside. Number three, don't overuse cliches. They make the book seem unoriginal, uninteresting, and most readers are like, yeah, I've probably already read 20 stories like this, and then they'll just put it down. Make sure that you're being very clear and unique. Number four, don't write a synopsis. This isn't a book report. This isn't a situation where you're telling your best friend, in 3 paragraphs what happened in the story so they don't have to read it for themselves. You want your reader to read it. So this is not a synopsis. This is a description and a teaser to get the interest built up. Number five, don't use passive voice. Make sure that because passive sentences, they make your blurb seem dull, uninteresting, and your reader is definitely, they're like, yeah, that's has been, nothing here. Number six, don't neglect your audience. Now, you always want to keep in mind who your book is for when you also write the description. So just like you wrote your story, you're writing it to your reader. Absolutely the same thing when you're writing your blurb. You want to make sure that you're talking to your ideal reader, because if your ideal reader reads that, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is me. But if somebody else reads it who may not like it, like let's say that someone who likes steamy romance, if you allude that there's something really romantic, maybe a little hot, a little steamy, but your story is actually a young adult, story about, that has nothing to do with a steamy romance. You don't want to lead your potential reader down the wrong path. So make sure that you write it to your ideal reader, and then anyone who's not interested, you don't want them to read it necessarily because they won't be happy with it. Number seven, don't ignore your competition. Make sure that in your category of the book that you're publishing, that you look at the successful book descriptions, look at the blurbs of the best sellers, and model that. Don't copy it, but model it. The length, the how they do the language. Are they talking to the reader? Are they doing a third person? How is it built? And look at that, because the reader expectations in your category are that it look like similar to what those bestsellers are, because that's what made them bestsellers potentially. Number eight, typos and errors. Treat this with as much respect as you do your manuscript, potentially more so, because if there's typos or spelling errors and stuff in your description, your potential reader, is just going to assume that the inside of your story is probably garbage if you've got typos all over the place of your description. So be very careful about that. Number nine, don't ignore the format. Now, what I mean by that is the world is short attention span now. We scroll constantly when we read books. Not always, but many of us have limited amount of time that we're going to be able to dedicate to that, and we want to experience that journey without feeling burdened. And so you want to make sure your format has smaller paragraphs, smaller sentences, You're not writing Shakespeare, you're writing great fiction, or if it's a memoir, you're writing a great story. Make it something that your busy reader can follow along with and not have to reread a paragraph 3 or 4 times before they actually understand what you're saying. Number 10, don't be too humble. It's important that you show what your book's strengths are. Don't be afraid to say, this is an incredible story about, and really drive it home that what your reader is looking for, they're going to find in your book. So, mastering the art of book descriptions is not as easy as it seems. There are people who do that for a living because they will read the story and they will have, because they have a flair for condensing and knowing what to bring to light and what not to. There are entire categories of writers who do nothing but book descriptions. So if you're doing your own, make sure you give it the attention that it deserves. With the right strategy, your book description can be a powerful tool to attract readers. And kind of visualize it like, when you go to the movies and you see the movie trailers, it's the same thing. It's what's going to attract your in a movie trailer, your viewer, but in a book, the description is what will attract your readers. So give them what they're looking for so that they can get the rest of it. All right, guys, I'm Sydney Brown. I look forward to hearing from you. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the videos, and drop a comment in the comments below for me and let me know what you thought of this, what your favorite tip is, and if there's anything else that you'd like to hear about. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.